not often we see a mass like this, really. The landsknechts are very squishy. They do an awful lot of damage, but they're pretty much glass cannon units. Welcome to a caster game. Today, we've got Valdemar on the HRE. He's currently sat around 60 on the ranked ladder, and his opponent today, well, it's a mirror match, and he is also on the HRE. It's this chap. He's sat around rank 100 on the ladder. He's from Hong Kong, and that is all of the information that I could gather about him. But Valdemar's rank has been improving recently. He is training for the King of the North tournament, which is coming up. That's on the 12th to the 14th of July over in Norway, in Bergen, I believe. And it's a land tournament between all of the Nordic, Scandinavian countries. I think there's Swedish, Norwegian, Danish, Finnish, I guess. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. We haven't had a Age of Empires 4 LAN tournament for a very long time. I think probably since the first Red Bull Wallaloo, back when the game sort of released and was in its infancy. But it's come a long way in the last couple of years, as has Valdemar, rising through the ranks, now competing up on, high up on the ladder and in some S-tier LAN tournaments. So excited to see what he and the other players can do. That's in a few weekends' time. So definitely get that one on the calendar. I will link it down below. It's run by Rising Empires. And yeah, I'll get the links to that below. I think there's some qualifiers still happening for the sort of lower seed players. But this game in front of us right now, it's not a LAN tournament. It's a ladder game, and it's between two HRE players. Traditionally, we see HRE go for the Archon Chapel and try to get up to that Castle Age nice and quick. Maybe throw in a quick Imperial Age with this Palace of Swabia and get those villagers printing. We are on Cliffside. Cliffside is the map today. So we do have this gap down the middle, which just is kind of, it doesn't show just how close these players are to each other. Just because there are cliffs here, it kind of feels like you've got a bit more room to play with, but these TCs and bases are very, very close. Interestingly, we did see our green HRE player go double scout, so just trying to deny some of the sheep from Valdemar. How many did he get? He's got 6, 7, 8, plus quite a few more, I think, down here. Just need to switch over to his perspective. So he got 12, and he's got a couple of carcasses down there as well. Let's compare that to Valdemar. Well, he definitely doesn't have 12 sheep under here. He's got 3 to 5 sheep. And where is his scout at the moment? Down here. So another 4. So definitely not 12. So I think the double scout opening for green working out quite nicely there, as his double scouts gallop off to the right hand side of the map. The Archon Chapel comes in. It's not a herdable sheep. It is, in fact, an Archon Chapel. There we go. So this is a drop-off point and has the Prelate buff, but as an aura. And if you don't know, the Prelate buff does a 40% gathering rate increase. So very, very nice there. And I believe by default, the HRE villagers can actually also carry 40% more resources. So they will stack up to 14 by default on the resource that they're about to drop off. So very, very strong opening economy. And that is matched by the green, but a little bit delayed, as he did have that first, the second scout coming out. But did definitely work, because he did get a hell of a lot more sheep. We now have 11 under the TC. We've got a tower coming down just to defend this gold. I presume he has scouted the stable that is coming out from Valdemar. We can take a quick look whether or not he did scout it. Possibly not, or he did run his scout around there. Sadly, we can't see the buildings that have been viewed by the scout. A little bit of a observer bug or, you know, error there. But needless to say, the defensive keep is coming out and is defending against the couple of scouts from Valdemar. I wonder if he threw in another scout at some point and I missed it. But if he had that from the start, I would be surprised because he is still one villager up. So I think he must have just made a second scout from his stable. And they were trying to burn down this outpost. And we do have arrow slits coming in now, which will give +1 damage, +1 ranged. Sorry, it's just the range, not the extra damage. But it does allow it to shoot without being garrisoned. It will fire off a few arrows. So that will dissuade any sort of aggression from the stable coming in. And we do see the horseman production has ceased there. So this will just be a bit of a rush to Castle Age now, I think. Stable does come in for green, but he does have more resources in the bank currently than Valdemar does. So probably going to be getting that age up a little bit quicker. But Valdemar is on the deer, which are one of the fastest food incomes in the game. So that will skyrocket his food income. And he probably has had to do this just due to the fact he didn't get as many sheep as perhaps he would have wanted. We do see the prelate moving out to buff up these villagers under the mill where the deer are for that nice prelate buff. What is that called? Let's have a little look. Where's this prelate going? Maybe he's just heading out to secure the relics already. He does have 2 prelates on the field. This one is walking back and forth now. Not exactly sure where this is going. A little bit of harassment is still coming down here from Valdemar, just poking and prodding, forcing a little bit of idle time where he can. But green does now have the resources for Castle Age. And I'm sure we'll be seeing the Regnets coming out right about then. Over on the Valdemar camp, he is getting wheelbarrows. So a slightly delayed Castle Age for sure. Working in a little bit of eco upgrade on the way. Interestingly, he didn't decide to buff these villagers. That prelate is just sort of patrolling a little bit. He could definitely get a bit more value out of these villagers. He does now have the resources to go up to Castle Age himself, which he will do. And he will match with the Regnitz Cathedral. We did see a second stable coming down for the green. So probably looking to get some knights out as quickly as possible. And that will definitely be a bit of a thorn in Valdemar's side when he does want to grab those relics, as he is going to be a little bit delayed, but it's putting a few more villagers onto this Regnitz Cathedral Castle Age tech. So he's not going to be too behind, but I think it will be long enough for green to get out a couple of knights, maybe even just some horsemen, and dissuade some of these prelates from picking up these relics. But that's the main point coming up, is who can secure these relics quickest. And we do see 2 knights queued up from the stables by green. Prelates heading out onto the map. We have one possibly going for this nice close one. I would like to see him heading up here. He does have the map control, especially with the knight over the horseman, so can probably defend the prelate if he did go for the further spawn, just to help secure these up. The knights are coming out. Is he going to make quick work of the horseman? And we do see that second prelate heading to another relic now. Not exactly sure which way it's going. This one is heading to this very north point. Does have 4 prelates on the field now against the 3 of Valdemar. Picked up 1 relic in the east, 2 more on their way in. Did pick up this west one, which could have been picked up by green, I feel. And I think green's going to be very lucky to get this relic up here. His knights are on the way, so they will probably interrupt this prelate. Maybe take him down before he gets it back to the cathedral. We see the archery range. Now training some crossbowmen. We'll counter these knights whilst a couple of raids happen. A scout goes down in the green base. as some more units work down this mill. The knights move in now, straight onto the crossbowmen, and they are going to take both of those out. Only one knight on the field for Valdemar against the 4 of green, so definitely getting that early castle age is just going to help him snowball these knight numbers as we move through the game. 2 relics secured with 2 still on the way from Valdemar, so definitely winning this relic game. Somehow I think a bit of mismanagement from the map control and his prelates from green. He did hit that castle age quicker, he did have the knights on the field earlier on. A raid here coming on to the gold, but not going to take any villagers out this time. Nice reactions there from Valdemar. And where are these last 2 relics? There's one here. So 3 secured now, 2 in the cathedral, 1 in the outpost, and another one heading somewhere else. Over this way, maybe to dissuade some dives into the woodline. If there is a prelate there, he can activate that Wololo and dissuade any knights that might be trying to take down some of his villagers. So a relic used defensively there. Very nice. May not have even had to use the ability, but just helps to dissuade those knights from coming in. Resources kind of building up for green. He has quite a lot of gold in the bank, and he's doing a bit of a farm transition. The blacksmith comes in. Some sacred sites have been captured up. The 2 perimeter ones, with the middle one being contested right now. And these knights just trying to cause a bit of a nuisance, but only 1 worker has been killed so far. So Valdemar doing a good job of defending against these small raids. The crossbowmen numbers now starting to build, so we'll start to work down those knights a lot quicker. And we'll definitely be an easy defense coming in now with these 2 outposts on the front entrance to Valdemar's base. Might look to get some relics in these. It does increase the armor, damage, sight range, and weapon range of the outpost, so super strong there. Especially if you can get up to Imperial and start sticking some cannons in these outposts, they become an almost impenetrable defense force, paired with some well-placed walls or ranged units, and you got yourself a nice little cozy safe base there. We've got 8 knights on the field, doing a bit of roaming around, but not particularly getting anything for their efforts. They will now see this outpost that's down for Valdemar and swiftly back off. We've got a bit of a raid coming in from the south from Valdemar towards the green player, and doesn't have the same sort of defense setup, doesn't have any ranged units, doesn't have any towers up, so this could be a pretty nice raid depending on where Valdemar looks to hit. Probably straight into the wood line, deny some of that wood. Can't really do too much about the food. All these food vills will probably garrison quite easily. Green trying to dive this front, but the 2 towers plus all the defense are doing wonders for Valdemar, and he does dive in now, looking for some villager pickups. None going down just yet. He will get a couple now that the town center is full up. We don't see any of the armor upgrades coming in just yet. A nice pull of the villagers to meet with the force of green, but Valdemar does still pick up, I think, 5 villager kills in that little engagement, so very nice little pick up there. But green does have all 3 sacred sites, so it's getting quite a lot of gold passively from that. It's 900 per minute for Valdemar, but only 700 per minute for our green player. Let's see how many villagers he has on here, as sacred sites do start to be contested. But a landsknecht is going to deal very well with these spearmen. Heavy damage coming in from these, and its area of effect damage as well. 17 in a little radius, so we'll make short work of those spearmen. The knights continue to harass, and as this little fight happens, It's going to look at the amount of workers that are on the gold. So Valdemar does have a lot more on gold. So that's kind of what's bringing him in all of that extra gold when compared with his green opponent. We do see some tech ups coming in. Veteran spearmen, veteran horsemen, and inspired warriors. Prelates increase their move speed by 10% and can inspire military units, improving their armor by 1 and damage by 15%. This is actually a tech that I don't see all that often. I think there's often too few prelates on the field to sort of make it worthwhile. But in this case, Valdemar, with his almost 6 prelates on the field, does feel like definitely going to be worth it. Some nice walls coming in here, just in front of these outposts, and this will be a very, very difficult area to breach. Though the movement speed of the knights can just get him around the back of the base and could look for some raids from some different angles. But with all these battering rams coming in, it looks like he just wants to brute force his way through the front. And he has scaled up his landsknecht production by a long way. There's 23 on the field here. And if these do get into the villager lines, into the crossbow mass and the spearman mass of Valdemar, they're going to do some serious, serious damage. Not often we see a mass like this, really. The landsknechts are very squishy. They do an awful lot of damage, but they're pretty much glass cannon units. So interesting to see him build into mostly melee glass cannon units. We'll have to see how this works out as the battering rams now do start working down this wall. They're going to make quick work of that, but he does have the springled stone towers with relics in to contend with. We see the landsknechts trying to make their way into the infantry mass of Valdemar. The teams collide now. The landsknechts are ripping through the front line of Valdemar, but the crossbowmen doing a great job of targeting them down. The numbers were about 25. He can't have more than 7 or 8 left. So I would say a pretty forced fight there by Green. He does take down a little bit of the defense of Valdemar, but these battering rams are now going to get cleaned up, and Valdemar retains the larger military force after that engagement with a nice mass of 20 crossbowmen still on the field, and they will help dissuade any second attacks that Green might look to muster. Villagers burning the battering rams now. As we see, neither player looking to go for Imperial, both sticking out in castle for now. Relics need to be picked up, although there is 2 outposts coming back in, so I'm sure these relics will go back to their positions in these defensive outposts. Just an interesting fight there coming in from Green. Thought he had the sheer mass and damage to punch through this defensive point of Valdemar, but in the end just not enough. Probably not enough frontline, maybe not enough range damage. Wasn't able to deal with this massive crossbowman. Couldn't shred through the front line quick enough before the crossbowman decided to shred all of the landsknechts, and is moving over to horsemen now, so is starting to build something that counters the crossbowman. But a nice mass here, as we said, retained. Now veterans after that initial battle at the front of Valdemar's base, and he does turn and looks to start burning some of these production buildings, or maybe into the villager lines of Green. I push in now, and I've pushed a button, which means I have no control over the camera. It's alright, I sorted it. A fight comes in. Crossbowmen shredding through their supposed counter unit, the horsemen. And it's looking pretty dire here for Green, down to 4 military mass against 30, only 48 eco to the 60 of Valdemar. Plenty of workers killed this game. There is a landsknecht in the crossbow line though, so these are going to shred through all of these crossbowmen. So a nice pickup there whilst in the base, we'll look to get the cleanup on the rest of Valdemar's units that are already in his base, but there is a second attack wave coming from the north. Horsemen, some spearmen, and some more crossbowmen for Valdemar, and we'll start to look at picking off these villagers who have nowhere to go. There's one tower available, but they're just going to run for the hills, being mown down in the fields of their villagers. And now plenty of idle time for these villagers. Looking like hitting the death blow is Valdemar. 22 workers killed. Now has a 22 villager advantage. Retaking some of the sacred sites, and green does call it there. A nice victory coming there from Valdemar. Some great defense, great use of relics, great use of the HRE mechanics. GG. Welcome to the post-game lounge. Good game there by Valdemar. Very nice defense. Making use of the HRE mechanics, the relics in the towers, buffing them up a ton. They really came in clutch there. Questionable approach there from green, I guess. He lost out on quite a few of the relics where I feel like he probably could have done a bit of a better job grabbing them nice and early on. You can get those prelates into position to grab relics as soon as you do click up to Castle Age. That is something that's quite good to do when you do have map control. I guess his map control came in a bit later once he did have those knights out and could deal with those earlier horsemen that Valdemar had created. But yeah, good one there. The landsknechts again, interesting to see, fun to see. I love to see a mass landsknecht army. But green probably doesn't want to try that again. That was rough. They just a lot of damage, too squishy. So yeah, what can we take into our ranked matches or any Age of Empires games really from this one? I think once you know your strategy, once you know you're going to be clicking that age up sooner than your opponent, try and use those small windows, pick up those relics nice and quick, access map control, push in while you have the tech advantage. All of these kind of things, they can compound over the course of a game and really turn the tides. And I think that's probably what happened here. Green lacked the gold income and the villager kills that Valdemar was able to get in the end. But a fun one. I quite enjoy mirror matches sometimes. Depends on the civilization, I guess. But this was a fun one. Don't forget to check the links below for King of the North tournament coming up, land tournament. That'll be fun. That's the 12th to the 14th of July. And yeah, all the links will be below. Check out another video of mine somewhere over here. Subscribe if you liked this and the content that I've been producing. Still early days, so it's pretty rough around the edges, but I think that's fine. You know, it's only been a few weeks, and hopefully I'll improve and improve as we go. Who knows what we'll be doing this time next year. Yeah, have a good one.